What's up, guys? It's the Lazy Goldmaker here, and today we're going to take a look at some TBC stuff. I haven't been covering TBC much at all lately, mostly focusing on retail with the recent 9.2 patch, but today we're going to take a little bit of a look at Phase 4, which is on the PTR. What's coming, what's going to matter gold making wise, and what the next phase is going to bring. So let's dive in. So as far as major content comes, this isn't a major phase. This is we're getting Suleiman, a 10-man raid, which fills a similar role as Sol Gurub did in Classic, as more of a catch-up raid that will help you get some gear, some pieces that might compete with tier with Molten Core, not Molten Core, with Black Temple and Mount Hyjal stuff, and then some stuff that is just going to be there for people leveling a new alt or wanting to catch up on a character that I haven't played in a while, for instance. That's sort of the main thing. There's no new PvP season, and this is looking to come out relatively soon after the launch of Phase 3 with Black Temple and Mount Hyjal. So this is not sort of a full phase in that sense, and the overall changes are a little bit more limited in scope. With the raid coming, there's going to be some changes to gearing and reputations. Among them, you can now get all of the heroic keys at Honored instead of Revered, so it's easier to get into heroics. There's new stuff for Badges of Justice. There's Badges of Justice from Karazhan as well as the heroics, so it's easier to farm up gear. So a lot of things that are just going to draw players back into the game, which generally is good for anyone who cares about gold making. More people to sell to, more gold to make. Pretty much that's as simple as it gets. So that's nice. I think this is a pretty good time to get back into the game. Pretty much, if you want to play TBC, now is the time to join up, and maybe I'll bring my Warlock out of retirement a little bit on TBC as well. Now, from a profession standpoint, there are coming some interesting things. We are getting some new recipes. At least 2 that I know of that are relevant. There might be some more. I haven't gone through like absolutely every page on Phase 4 items, so you do that with a grain of salt. This is probably the biggest one, the Greater Drums of Battle, which function how drums were used to. This now has a 40-yard range. So you don't have to stack up for using drums. Obviously, there's probably going to be one leatherworker per group in any serious raiding guild for drums, even if you can't stack them multiple times. Doing this once every 2 minutes is definitely really good. So this should be popular. Of course, it has an incredible amount of charges, so demand is going to be relatively low. People aren't going to buy these every day. But it's a relevant recipe to get if you have leatherworking. It just requires the honored with the Shatar, which is not that many runs of any of the Tempest Keep dungeons. You can get that in a couple of Botanica runs and doing some quests. So that's pretty easy to pick up and a nice one to just get. The other recipe we're getting, or one of the other recipes we're getting, is the Enchant Weapon Executioner that can drop from any of the bosses in Suleiman. It's a bind and pickup recipe, so you do have to do the raid yourself on your enchanter. And this is a melee weapon enchant that gives you armor penetration, or an armor penetration proc. So this is going to be more of a PvP enchant, but it will see some demand most likely. If you can get this early, then you might be able to be the only one on your realm with it. If you're lucky and get it the first reset. So just hope you get lucky and bark in trade chat, and you can potentially make some very good gold, or you might be later to the market and it's saturated and you have to spend too much time in trade chat to sell these effectively. As always with enchants, you can expect to spend a lot of time in trade chat if you want to make any sort of money with enchanting. You have to wait until TBC or until Wrath when we get enchant scrolls and can actually sell this stuff on the auction house. But it's something to look out for if you can. So yeah, just be aware. Now the next change that's coming in Phase 4 is not so big. It's just a very, very tiny change in the tooltip of 2 items, but it is one that I'm personally quite excited about. Primal Leathers and Nether Vortexes are both no longer going to be bind on pickup. So that means that, well, crafting any of these items that requires a Primal Leather, you can now do that without having to run heroics. You can just buy them from the auction house. So for me personally, that's very nice for the spell thread, for instance, which I haven't really been able to craft because I don't play the game enough to generate these from heroics. So this is very nice for those of us who primarily want to trade. They are also, you can buy these from a vendor for badges. You can now buy them for 10 badges for the Primal Leathers and 15 badges for the Nether Vortexes. So this is just very nice, means that you have any of these recipes, you can now make them. So anything from like the Spell Strike set, Spell Thread, any of the other profession items that can be traded, leg armor, Spell Thread, well, yeah, tons of items that you could now restock more effectively and spend less time. Of course, if you were someone who was already running loads of heroics and you could generate these effectively, then you're gonna get some competition. So expect competition to come in as well. The fact that these can be bought from the vendor, from badges, and that people might have some stockpiles of these, this is going to be a potential opportunity. Because a lot of people might be looking to sell their Primal Leathers and Nether Vortexes at the same time. Or liquidate their Badges of Justice and turn them into Nethers to sell on the auction house. This isn't a guarantee, but there is a possibility that they're going to get very cheap as people sell like a huge supply at the same time, where there's no real increase in demand. There's no major reason to buy more of these in Phase 4 in particular. So this is something that you can consider investing in. If you look a little bit further down the line, then once we get into the final phase and Sunwell Plateau, there's going to be more recipes that require Primal Leathers, and people are still going to use the leg armors, the Spell Thread. Those are just not going away. So there's an potential opportunity here. There's no guarantee. We might see supply steadily increase and prices continue to go down as we approach the final phase. Predicting the future is incredibly hard, but this is something that I'd suggest keeping an eye on at the very least. Now, the last thing I'd say is that with the increased catch-up amount, and with this being a patch that mostly revolves around the catch-up, one thing we could expect to see is a lot more people rolling alts. And that's always good, because that means that anything that's sort of useful for catch-up gear, for new characters, whether that's bags or tradable pre-biz or useful items such as the Bracers of Havoc, which are good, easy to get bracers, pretty cheap. Those kinds of items might see an increase in demand with Phase 4. This is a pretty good time to roll an alt. Of course, they're changing the catch-up gear, so there might be different items that are the most sought after. But pay attention to pre-raid BIS guides for Phase 4 and BIS guides for Phase 4, and see if there are any easy, accessible, crafted items that are suggested for players to use, and then you can probably make some money with these. And then, of course, the staples like the bags and anything that every character needs is also something that we might see an uptake in sale rate. That doesn't necessarily mean that the price is going to increase significantly. But you should see some increased demand and be able to sell a little bit more of it, which is always nice. So guys, that's it from this video. If you want to see more TBC content from me, then make sure you leave a like or a comment down below. If there's anything specific you'd like me to take a look at, for whether for Phase 4 or something you've heard about or thought about right now, then let me know. I haven't been doing playing much TBC lately, because I've been just preparing so much for 9.2 on retail and making gold there. But I definitely enjoy TBC gold making as well. So if there's something you'd like me to see, take a look at or test, then let me know. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.